We're starting today in child's pose, so taking the knees to the outer edges of the mat, sitting the hips all the way back, reaching the arms out in front and taking your head down onto the mat. We're going to do belly breathing here in child's pose, so taking a deep inhale into the belly, filling the belly like a balloon, and on an exhale, letting it all out. So continuing in your own time, deep breathing in and out of the belly. We're going to walk our hands and the upper body over to the left now, so you're stretching over your left knee. And walking the hands and upper body over to the other side, stretching over the right knee. And coming back to the center, we're going to slowly come up to tabletop pose, so onto all fours with the shoulders above the wrists and hips above the knees. Now loosening up the spine with cat-cow. On an inhale, we're dropping the belly, opening the chest, looking up. And on an exhale, rounding the spine, chin to chest. So again, inhaling, opening the chest. And exhale, rounding the spine, drawing the navel in towards the spine. And again, inhale. And exhale. Back to a neutral spine, we'll do thread the needle. On an inhale, lifting the right arm, looking up. Exhale, threading it under the left arm, taking your right shoulder and your head down to the mat. Pushing down into the left palm as you bring yourself back up. Then inhale, lifting the left arm, looking up, and exhale, threading it under the right arm, taking your left shoulder and your head down to the mat. Pushing down into the right palm to bring yourself up. Then we're going to come into puppy pose, so keeping the hips above the knees, but walking the hands out in front as far as you can reach, taking your head down towards the mat, or maybe even your chin down to the mat as you let your chest drop down towards the mat. And you're going to slowly walk your hands back up here, and then coming into another child's pose, taking the knees apart, sitting your hips back, taking the head down to the mat. This time we're going to take the fingers together into a prayer pose and take your thumbs to the back of your neck. Slowly releasing from your child's pose, bringing yourself back up to tabletop, and then we're going to come into down dog, so tucking your toes under, lifting the hips high. We're sending the chest towards the knees, so we want to look like an upside down V shape. You can keep your knees bent here if you need to, keeping the spine long and loosening out the calves, so bending one knee at a time, pushing the other heel down to the mat, slowly switching. So we're walking out the legs here, loosening out the calves. Slowly coming back down to tabletop. We're going to come into a dolphin pose next. So taking your forearms down to the mat with your fingers spread wide. We're going to lift the hips again this time. It's like a down dog but on your forearms. So we're sending the chest towards your knees again. You're looking towards your knees or your feet. Spine nice and long. A lovely shoulder opener here. Slowly releasing from the dolphin pose back down onto your knees. We're going to come into another down dog. So coming back onto your hands, tucking the toes under and lifting your hips up to downward dog. Now we're going to slowly walk the feet up towards the top of the mat. You're going to keep the knees bent. We're going to hang forwards. We're going to come into gorilla pose. So taking your hands with your palms facing up under your feet, taking the toes all the way up to the back of the wrists. So we're going to hang forward with the knees bent here in gorilla pose. If you want to try straightening your legs, first inhale, and then on an exhale, attempting to straighten the legs. Absolutely fine to keep the knees bent as much as you need to here. And bending the knees, slowly releasing the hands, taking the hands to the hips and slowly rolling up to standing. Now on an inhale, you're going to reach the arms up above the head. Exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins, flat back, rolling the shoulders back. Exhale, hands to the mat, stepping back to a plank pose. So keeping the spine long, core engaged here in plank, rolling the shoulders back. One more inhale and exhale, chaturanga, keeping the elbows tucked in as you go down. Inhale to upward dog, opening the chest to the front, and then exhale, tuck the toes, lift the hips up to downward dog. And bend the knees, look forward. On an inhale, stepping up to the top of the mat, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, reaching the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart. And inhale, reaching the arms up again. Exhale, bend the knees, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And on an exhale, hands to the mat, stepping just your right foot back this time, taking your right knee down to the mat. So we're in a low lunge here, hips are squared to the front, and on an inhale, reaching both arms up. Now dropping the hands back down to the mat, we're going to shift the hips back, start to straighten out the front leg, flexing the front foot, coming into a hamstring stretch here. Then inhale to open the chest, and exhale, taking the chest forwards. So keeping the hips level towards the front. And bending that front knee, shifting the weight forwards, we're going to come into a runner's lunge. So tucking your back toes under, lifting the back knee into a runner's lunge. And you're pushing your right heel towards the back here to really lengthen that right leg. Then slowly dropping the right knee back down, coming back to tabletop, tucking the toes under and lifting the hips up to downward dog. And bending the knees, looking forward. We're stepping just the right foot forward now and dropping the left knee down to the mat, coming into our low lunge on the other side. On an inhale, reaching both arms up, making sure your hips are squared to the front. Now dropping the hands back down to the mat, shifting the hips back, coming into our hamstring stretch, straightening that front leg with the front foot flexed. Inhale to open the chest, exhale bringing the chest forwards, then slowly bending that front knee again, shifting the weight forwards, coming into our runner's lunge, so tucking the back toes under, lifting the back knee into runner's lunge. And we're pushing that left heel backwards to really lengthen the left leg. Now slowly releasing the back knee, coming back to tabletop, and we're going to tuck the toes under, come into down dog, lifting the hips, sending the chest towards your knees. Now you can either stay right here in down dog, or if you want to try revolve down dog, take your right hand to the outside of the left ankle, twisting the upper body to the left. Releasing the right hand back to down dog, then on the other side, taking the left hand to the outside of the right ankle and twisting the upper body to the right. And releasing the hand back to down dog, then slowly coming down to the knees, we're going to come into child's pose. So taking the knees apart, sitting the hips back, reaching the arms out in front and taking your head down to the mat. And bringing yourself up, we're going to come into a camel pose, a heart opener. So coming up onto your knees, taking the hands to the hips. Option 1 is to send the hips forward, lean back slightly and looking up to the ceiling. Option 2, if you want to try reaching the hands back to grab onto your heels, pushing down into the heels as you lift the chest higher, looking up to the ceiling. And then taking your hands back to the hips and slowly coming back into a child's pose. Now bringing yourself up to sitting, we're going to come into a staff pose. So stretching the legs out in front with the feet flexed, thighs pushing firmly down into the mat, spine nice and long. I'm going to use a yoga strap here, but you could also use a belt or a towel. So I'm going to loop the strap around my feet here, and then inhale to open the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, taking the chest forwards. And if you can grab your feet, feel free to do so. On each exhale, taking the chest a little bit further forward, keeping the spine nice and long. And slowly release. Now bending your right knee, taking the right foot to the inside of the left thigh, looping the strap over the left foot, and again we'll inhale to open the chest, lengthening the spine, and then exhale, taking the chest forwards. And slowly release. We're going to switch sides, so stretching the right leg out, taking the left foot to the right thigh, looping the strap over your right foot, and again inhale to open the chest, lengthening the spine, and exhale, taking the chest forwards. And slowly release. Give the legs a little shake. And we're going to come into a twist. So bending the right knee, taking the right foot over the left thigh, hugging that knee into the chest as you flex the left foot. Inhale, lifting the left arm, and on an exhale, take that left elbow or the left hand to the outside of the knee, taking the right hand behind you and twisting to look over the right shoulder. So you want to draw the navel in towards the spine as you twist, keeping the spine long. Slowly release. Give the legs a shake, and we'll do the other side. Bending the left knee, taking the left foot over the right leg, hugging the knee into the chest, flexing the right foot. Inhale, lifting the right arm. Exhale, taking the elbow or hand to the outside of the knee as the left hand goes behind you, twisting to look over the left shoulder this time. So keeping the spine nice and long. And slowly release. We're going to come into cobbler's pose, so bringing the soles of the feet together, bringing the heels in towards you, and then inhale to open the chest, lengthen the spine. Exhale, bringing the chest forward. You might want to use your elbows to gently push the legs down here. And slowly release, coming into a tortoise pose, so bringing the heels further away from you, taking the hands under your ankles, or maybe even taking the elbows down to the mat and reaching the tops of your feet. And slowly release. We're going to come into a wide leg forward fold, so taking the feet apart. You can take your hands at your sides, keeping your spine nice and long here. Or if you'd like to walk your hands out in front, first inhale to find length, and then exhale, taking the chest forward, maybe taking the elbows down to the mat. If you're struggling here to keep your spine long, rather have your hands at your sides, focus on lengthening the spine. And slowly walking your hands back up and slowly bringing the feet together. We're going to come to lie down on your mat, hugging your knees into your chest. Have a little rock side to side here, massaging the lower back. Then releasing the feet down to the mat, preparing for a bridge pose, taking your hands at the sides, palms facing down. On an inhale, lifting the hips, pushing the feet firmly down into the mat. And releasing the hips down from the bridge pose. We're going to come into eye of the needle, taking the right foot or right ankle onto the left thigh, pulling the left thigh towards you with both hands, and then flexing both feet. And release. We can switch to the other side, taking the left ankle to the right thigh, pulling the right thigh towards you and flexing both feet. And we're going to release here, coming into Shavasana, our final resting pose. You can either keep your knees bent, take the hands at the sides, palms facing up, or if you can, stretching the legs out, taking the feet down towards the corners of the mat, releasing the shoulders down into the mat. Then on an inhale, clenching your fist, scrunching up your fingers, and exhale, release. And inhale, clenching your feet, scrunching up your toes, and exhale, release. Then inhale, clenching your face, scrunching up your eyes, and exhale, release. And bringing the awareness back into the body, start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, slowly bending your knees, rolling onto your right side, and when you're ready, slowly coming up to sitting. Thank you for watching, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed it.